Okay, good day, viewers. Welcome to the family show. Today we have a guest, and shortly you will get to know who our guest is. My name remains Enegbani Obaje Austin. I'm the CEO of Ufedo Radio and Television. Before you get to see our guests, I think we'll go on commercial. But before the commercial, this is an interactive program. You can call into the program maybe 20 minutes to the end of the program. You can call in to share your own view about the topic. So both the topic and our guests you get to know after this 1 minute commercial. When we're back, we'll talk more. Thank you very much.
My heritage, my pride. Beyond the language, beyond the lifestyle, beyond the tradition, beyond the festivals. It's about revitalizing the African heritage, giving you all the sides to the stories of Africa, in Africa, and about Africa. Pips Heritage TV, Beyond Dreams. My heritage, my pride. Beyond the language, beyond the lifestyle, beyond the tradition, beyond the festivals. It's about revitalizing the African heritage, giving you all the sides to the stories of Africa, in Africa, and about Africa. Pips Heritage TV, Beyond Dreams.
Welcome back. This is Ufedo TV. If you are watching us from all over the world, you are watching any part of Nigeria, you are watching us from Zimbabwe, from South Africa, from UK. This is Ufedo TV. I remain your humble host, Obaje Austin Enegbani. And here with me today is our co-presenter. She is
Onoja Priscilla Godwin.
Okay. So
Welcome to the show.
we have a guest. You get to hear more or know who our guest is. Welcome on the Ufedo Family Show, sir.
My pleasure. Good afternoon.
Yes, for the purpose of our viewers, may we meet you?
Yeah, my name's Onoja Edward David. I am from Kogi State, and I am the Chief of Staff to the Executive Governor of Kogi State, Alhaji Yahaya Adoza Bello.
Wow. Wow. You are welcome, sir.
Thank you very much.
There is a title that used to ring bell about you. You didn't put the title today. You know, if you don't put Chief Edward Onoja, it's not complete. So I don't know how you.
It's Mr. Edward Onoja who is Chief of Staff.
Oh.
I'm not a title chief.
Okay. So we've been talking about Nigeria's democracy for a while now, and we'll talk about youth participation in Nigerian politics and governance generally, considering how old Nigeria is. So we would like to know your own view, so far so good, about Nigeria's democracy. What do you think? Are we really making the supposed progress?
We gained independence in 1960.
That's right.
And from history and from records, this is the longest democratical phase in the history of Nigeria. 19 years running without any truncation from the men in the uniforms under the boots. There had been attempts at democratical settings, recalling from the First Republic, it was truncated. The Civil War, after the Civil War, another one, it was truncated. Then you have the 79, Alhaji Oshagari, it was truncated. And that continued until the June 93 12th saga. That was almost going to be, and then it was also truncated. And then finally, it took the death of Sani Abacha to find, and the emergence of General Abdul Salam, who within a year return power to the civil rule, that's democratic setting, and we've been enjoying that for 19 years without a cut in it. So I would say it's progress, because next year will be 2 decades of democratic setting without any incursions from the military. So that's progress in its sense, as far as democracy, civil rule is concerned.
We're talking about dividends of democracy. You know, you talk about progress in terms of how long without interruption, fine. But when we talk about the supposed dividends of democracy, I don't know if you have to measure the progress in terms of dividends of democracy. Where will you place our democracy currently?
It's been.
I am not talking about government at this point. I'm talking about generally democracy.
One, there's been lots of government policies, passage of laws that tries to entrench the democratic setting. One of them, notably, would be the Freedom of Information Bill that allows people to actually air their view, also request for what government and government officials and public officials are doing with the trust that had been given unto them by the people. Electoral processes, we are getting better. Once upon a time, as this phase of the democratic setting started, there was the case of ballot box snatching, stuffing of ballot papers in ballot boxes, and then technology had come in the last 2 electioneering processes, courtesy the leadership of Professor Tyree Jega, who actually had tried to restrict those crude methods of electioneering. And as we go into 2019, you could see that there's still clamor for let's leave the physical nature of voting and go into the electronical and technological method, where from the comfort of your home you could take a choice of who should be in a particular position. And I think it's a gradual process, so it's still progress in that direction, where technology, time saving, and erasing all human factor elements from the electoral process had come to be. I would say it may not be as fast as we would have wanted it, but when you compare 1999 elections to 2015 election, there's a significant improvement, and we believe it will get better with time.
Wow. So, Oji?
Okay, you talked about the experience in so far as it concerns democracy. And now there's so much clamor of women involvement in politics. As one who is in the government, how do you assess the level of women involvement in politics? Like in your own jurisdiction, has there been much interest, like much, the zeal from the women to participate in politics?
First and foremost, the women are the deciders of election. They need to know that. They are the ones who actually take their time to go do the actual voting. Now, they are more organized in getting themselves together and have a network. And when they take decisions on where they want to align, you see that it's difficult to break their ranks. But in active participation in terms of wanting to seek for office and soliciting for votes, I would say they've not scored very high in that regard. Even though the system had made it a little bit more, easy to enter. For instance, in most political parties, for my party, the All Progressive Congress, if you're a woman, you want to run for office, you don't need to pay a dime to get your nomination form. Wow. But for the male counterpart, there is a fee. So there's already a heads up, an advantage heads up for the female folks. So they need to take advantage of that, because it costs you nothing to take a nomination form, where for some, you have to pay 5 million, you have to pay 2 million. It's already giving you a leverage and a step ahead.
It's
so
free for female.
For female and for now physically challenged. Wow. That's for All Progressive Congress, and I know it also applies in some other political parties. So I would encourage that they should be more active in seeking offices in elections rather than just participating in the actual mobilization and voting, because in reality, they have the numbers.
Okay, don't you think there's a breach in information dissemination? Like you talked about your party and the opportunity women have to pick up nomination forms for free. I am just getting to know that. I'm sure a lot of women out there who also have that the motivation, the ambition to hold political positions are also not aware of this. So, do you think there is more to be done in the aspect of information sharing in this regard?
Yes, there is more that needs to be done, and also I want to encourage the male counterparts, especially those whose wives would want to. You know, sometimes you want to seek your husband's consent, and sometimes the men would say, why do you want to get involved in this political game? It's dirty, it's not good for a married woman and all that. I think we need to go past that. If the wife of the past Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, go for the presidency of the United States, and the husband was just by her side. I would want African men and husbands to allow our women to also be involved in politics, in seeking electoral. In Kogi State today, I would want to draw attention. There's empowerment of women, even though not by electoral processes, but by appointments. For instance, the secretary to the state government is a woman, and he's the only woman amongst all the APC 24 states that is an SSG, female SSG. The head of service in Kogi State today is also a woman, and that would be about the first. And so it comes up with also the male counterpart who are in places of authority and position to also give a chance to a female counterpart to show what they have. Because if they can be good mothers, good home caregivers, good homemakers, they can also be good when it comes to administrative responsibility. That's my take on it.
Okay. Also talking about the involvement of people in politics. Recently, I was opportune to attend the Emerging Political Leaders Summit, and then there were this group of disabled people who were there. You know, they were canvassing for the other disabled persons, and then you mentioned opportunities for disabled persons in your political party. Can you throw more light on this, please? So that the disabled persons who also have the plans to go into politics can be a lot more encouraged and motivated to push further.
Good enough. In this, the All Progressive Congress is just rounding up their congresses. Okay. The final national convention will be on 23rd of June here in Abuja. When you look at the composition of our executive, from the ward level to local government to state level, there had been one specific position that had been left for the physically challenged. For instance, in Kogi State, we have 239 wards. We have 239 executive members who are physically challenged.
Wow.
And that tells you a kind of encouragement and a catalyst to, if you have 239 people as executive members of your party,
that's like
they are already involved. Because if they take a decision on any of their own person who is physically challenged, it will stand the test of time. So I think the political parties need to rejig their strategy and their plans and their blueprint to deliberately and consciously give room for the physically challenged women and the youths.
Okay.
Wow. Okay. So talking about youth participation in governance, if you have to compare between the democratic dispensation and the previous government, do you think previous military regimes, do you think that democracy has really given chance to youths to participate in government affairs?
Comparing previous military era.
Not just achievements, but I'm talking about youth participation.
Yeah, military era. When I saw an analysis of where they analyzed the leadership positions in Nigeria from the early 70s and the rights, and you find out that people were in their 29, 30, 35, and that was the age bracket.
Okay.
Then there came the democratic setting from the Shekari era,
Okay.
and then older people began to participate. The same people who were in charge, they are still in charge, wanting to continue to be in charge. But the youths are not just sitting down.
Okay.
They are also getting very well involved. Not in the Togri aspect, which had been what they keep down for them. Say, you go do the physical dirty job out there while we take the positions and then we drop the crumbs for you. Kogi State today, I can tell you categorically that it has the youngest team in government. And from our executive positions in the party we just finished, I think the average age of our executive would hover between 30 to 40. And that tells you power is devolving back to the younger generation. And good enough, the bill that had just been passed, not too young to run. Yeah. Kudos to the team led by Itodo, at M. Itodo. It means access to participate, not just by voting, but actively in seeking positions, already getting to the top of the Nigerian youth. Okay. And it will get better with time.
All right, sir. But how do you assess the youth competence in area of governance and leadership participation? Now, we know that, proper delivery of political promises and all of that is not just centered on age, which is why we're talking about involving the youths in politics. Now, we also have to consider competence and experience. How do you now, try to cover this gap when you talk about youth?
Okay, I'll take it like this. In Nigeria today, an average 21, 22-year-old, 23 marks or 24 marks is out of the university or the higher institution. Yeah. So if he has cognizance experience of 7 years, 7 to 10 years, yeah, either as private enterprise, in government, or in private practice, 10 years, 7 years experience is enough antecedent for you to be able to take positions of governance or leadership. So it's not just the age. The age should be matched with some level of capacity, experience, and antecedents. And that would allow the room for creativity, because young minds are very, very creative. That does not mean that you leave everything to young people, because at the background would be those with 30, 40, 50 years of experience, just guiding as statesmen. So we need to have them take back the back seats as statesmen, and then allow younger people to, after the settings, if you look at it lately, the Nigerian setting is being cleaned up. That's how I see it. The systems are beginning to want to work as they should work. And once this cleanup is adequately done, and the systems can work on their own, age will not be too much of an issue, because the systems will always supersede the people that would be in charge of government. The system is, we are in a phase of where the system is trying to be rejigged to work like an auto-run. And once that is done, every agency works like an auto-run. A human being is not superior to the agency, then we can get it right and move on from there.
Okay. Kudos to Kogi State government. You just talked about you have the highest team of
young people.
Fine, but we're talking about, before we narrow down to your state, yeah, Kogi State, let's look at Nigeria as a whole.
Good.
If we have Nigeria that is made up of 36 states and
the FCT
territory in FCT, and then we are talking about just one state, generally, this cannot be
a good statistics, yeah.
So, except you are telling me that apart from Kogi State, there are a handful of other, So, let's look at it from that general angle.
Okay.
What do you score youth participation? And then after drawing the line, what do you think is responsible for the low turnout of youth in active participation, and what do you think is the way out?
a lot of people would say, oh, but Mr. President is in his 70s and he wants to run again for elections, and that's the party I belong to. In geology, there's what they call a period of hiatus. Hiatus is a period where a system changes.
Right.
Such periods, the captain needs to come to the table with some level of experience and wisdom and patience, because it's a rough period. And for Nigeria, I think we are in that hiatus period. That's a rough period. That the captain of the ship necessarily does not have to be somebody who's got energy and gusto, but somebody who's got some level of temperament, patience, wisdom, and, if you ask me, some military experience. Why did I say so? Insecurity is our greatest challenge coming into this period, and you need to have some experience in that angle to nip those things in the bud. Even when your lieutenants are telling you some things, you need to also, as an experienced person, see between the lines to be able to nip it. So I believe in the next 4 or 5 years, the system would have been stabilized such that youth participation will be more active. The bill's been signed. The electioneering process is going to get better with technology. Youths are more savvy with technology. So you find out that there will be trust in the system. Trust that even if you venture without too much of the money bags, you would still make a headway in getting in. And once that is the guarantee, which I know Mr. President has the capacity and is already doing that, to give confidence that it is not all about throwing in the billions to get into a place of office, but showing up and giving yourself up for service and doing the normal, minimal logistical thing to sell your product or yourself. And then technology takes the rest. People will buy it and then give you your votes. And somebody with $1 billion can run for an office, and a young man with 25 million can run for the same office and beat the man with $1 billion as the system changes. In fact, INEC had said it, that the next election, money politics will be something that they would frown at very seriously, and people will be prosecuted if there are evidences that that played a significant role. So that's why I say this is a hiatus period where there's a changing system for a new one to come on board, and then we can move from there on.
Okay, since we are in the era of government of the people, by the people, and for the people, and there is a sitting president.
Yeah.
Of course, next year we'll be going for another round of elections, and some persons, for whatever reasons, might think that they need a change of hands. We are talking about youth involvement in politics now. Should they deem it fit to mobilize themselves and bring up a candidate who will compete with the sitting president, who is, of course, your party member, and somehow, let's assume their own candidate at the grassroots takes it? Do you think that the sitting president, who has signed the Not Too Young to Run bill, will willingly give out, like, let me congratulate you for taking this seat where I have voted?
If you know Mr. President very well.
Before you answer,
Yeah.
a lot of presidents have questions to ask, but we'll go for a commercial.
Okay.
When we are back, so if you want to know the answer to this question and you have question to ask or the areas you need more clarification, you'll get the answers after the break. Don't forget, our host here today is Mr. Edward Onoja. Just today I'm getting to know that the title is Mr.
He's Mr.
It's going to be, in fact, even where I have your number saved is as Chief Edward Onoja. And then my co-host is Ojamalia, who will be back right after the break. Don't change the dial. Go on break. Please on this thing.
Yes.
My heritage, my pride. Beyond the language, beyond the lifestyle, beyond the tradition, beyond the festivals. It's about revitalizing the African heritage, giving you all the sides and silver stories of Africa, in Africa, and about Africa. Pips Heritage TV, Beyond Dreams. My heritage, my pride. Beyond the language, beyond the lifestyle, beyond the tradition, beyond the festivals. It's about revitalizing the African heritage, giving you all the sides to the stories of Africa, in Africa, and about Africa. Peeps Heritage TV, Beyond Dreams. My heritage, my pride. Beyond the language, beyond the lifestyle, beyond the tradition, beyond the festivals. It's about revitalizing the African heritage, giving you all the sides to the stories of Africa, in Africa, and about Africa. Peeps Heritage TV, Beyond Dreams. My heritage, my pride. Beyond the language, beyond the lifestyle, beyond the tradition, beyond the festivals. It's about revitalizing the African heritage, giving you all the sides to the stories of Africa, in Africa, and about Africa. Peeps Heritage TV, Beyond Dreams.
Okay. Which country is this? Let me tell them one thing.
My heritage,
Hello?
my pride. Beyond the language, beyond the lifestyle, beyond the tradition, beyond the festivals. It's about revitalizing the African heritage, giving you all the sides to the stories of Africa, in Africa, and about Africa. Peeps Heritage TV, Beyond Dreams.
Welcome back. Don't forget, for the family, we have, before we went on commercial, there was a question that was thrown to our guest, and I'm sure he's warming up to answer. Let's attend to this call first. Hello? Hello?
Yeah, my name is Ramos.
Okay.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, I want to ask the guest.
Okay.
From his assessment of the military era and democracy,
Yeah.
which one would he say has benefited Nigerians more?
Which one will you?
Between military leadership
Yeah.
and democracy,
Yes.
which one has benefited
Okay.
the
Okay.
masses more?
Okay. Which one has benefited the masses more?
Who is the question?
Yeah, I would answer you with a statement that had become real globally, and that is the best of a military regime is not as is still the worst compared to any civilian regime. You know why? During the democratic setting, the citizens and the people can ask questions and get answers. In a military regime, you don't even ask questions. You just take it as it's given to you. As it's dished to you, you have to take it. Because the constitution, which binds all together at that point, is suspended.
Hello? Are you still with us?
Yes, I'm on.
Okay, I'm sure you got the answer he has given to your
I
question.
still have further question to ask.
Go ahead.
In those days, we used to have fuel. The amount we buy fuel now is much more higher than then.
Okay.
Then we had water. We had the refinery. We went to school. We were given books. Right now, under democracy, all of those things, we haven't done any of those things.
Okay.
Okay, I would say, first and foremost,
Okay, in order for him not to engage in line for too long,
yes.
You are done with your question. He will react. You can, from whatever medium you are watching us, either on satellite or online, on Facebook, on YouTube, he will react and to your question. Okay?
All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay.
He's talking about the era of free education,
Yeah,
free books.
access to
We have also grown in population, and when you grow in population, resources are limited. You find out that you need to prioritize what you need to do. I remember those days we were probably below 50 million. We got to 100. We are over 200, and we are still working with the same resources. So it may not be as rosy as it used to be. It's just the balancing that will matter now. And military era, you don't need to take any budget to anyone. You just see that there needs to be this road to be constructed. You award it and do it. But there are 3 tiers of government, and you must have to go navigate around these 3 arms of government. And it's not too easy. But like I said earlier, any democratic setting is far, far better than any military regime, no matter how sweet it may look like.
Okay.
Back to your question. Mr. President has signified his interest to run. For me and Kogi State and our party, we are fully behind Mr. President. And we believe that, like I said, it's a period of change. And you need a real statesman with some level of experience, wisdom, patience, to be able to navigate that era of change. And I want to take it from another angle, the spiritual angle. Mr. President was not too well when he got into office. Everyone gave up on him. So I want to believe that he's back on his feet, strong, better. It's not for him to go and rest. It's for him to complete the job that he had started. And that job, like by my estimation, will be completed in 2023. And a better Nigeria will be for us. For the young ones who are coming up, I see Sowore, I see Feladuro Toye, so many young people looking to be presidents. I think they are doing good. I love their bravery, their courage. It's a good time for them to learn the ropes. And then maybe after Mr. President in 2023, it will be strictly a race for all young men.
So you don't envisage any
Okay,
upturn. I'm too optimistic.
Let me chip in something.
The center will still
We're
remain.
talking about maybe the next 4 to 5 years for them to learn. Democracy is this very dispensational. Is how old?
Will be 20 years next year.
20 years. So for 20 years, what this youth have not acquired for 20 years, do you think that in the next 4 to 5 years it will be enough for them to learn this? Because if you are saying we need more time for them to learn, which means they may have to wait forever.
I'm saying in Kogi, we had a 40-year-old governor.
Yes.
I want to see 10 more states add up to that number, where younger governors will be in the setting. And then, most likely, when Mr. President is exiting the stage in 2023, one of them or any other one can upturn the stage, and we may probably have an under 45, under 50, under 30, under 35, according to the law, Mr. President. And that means power had come to the Nigerian youth.
Okay, consider the trend now. Before this sitting president came into power, there was so much rigor and, energy from the youths in campaigning for him and soliciting for votes for him. And then a number of these persons seem to have withdrawn from, giving so much energy into campaigning for him for the next term. Do you still envisage that, there is still going to be a victory in favor of him? And if no such thing happens, will he, because the fear now is, he has this military
to answer that
he
question.
might not be willing to.
No, Mr. President, you need to know him is now a pure Democrat. If the elections is not in his favor, which I doubt because it's going to be in his favor, we rarely have seen a credible name on the list of those coming up that can give Mr. President a run for that position. For now, I'm not saying there are not credible people in Nigeria, but the names that are popping up really, when you understand the game of politics, I think they're just making a try. They're giving a run for it and trying to learn the ropes for 2023. That's my own opinion. It may differ from people, but if peradventure it is not the way we think, Mr. President would willingly let it go because he's not a desperado.
So okay, let me put it this way. In the state of your state, for instance, your state, Kogi State,
yes,
we have the youngest governor.
Yeah.
And there was nothing like we need time for him to learn and to catch up things the way you have put it this way. and he is there currently. So why are you not optimistic that if a youth come in at this point, the youth will do better without having to go through maybe a class for maybe leadership class deliberately? Because we were saying we have run this this present dispensation has lasted for almost 20 years. So is it because the not too young to rule bill was not signed all this while, was not enforced? Why is it that at this point there has to be a deliberate time for them to acquire a leadership skills? Or
it's by and large 7 months to election.
Yeah, that's right.
Nigeria is very, very wide, and it's not totally driven by technology. The physical going to vote also matters. Physical going around the nooks and crannies of the country also matters. A political party with structures, with people who need to talk to people in the most remotest part of the country needs to be on ground. I'm not seeing that around now for the newcomers. And that's why I said they need to first get these structures on the ground for these elections. It may not give them a win, but it had given them an experience that they will bring on board in 2023 to eventually crown that glory. That's my take. I may be wrong, but if you are in politics and you know what it takes, you need to blow a whistle from the center, and the man at the very last bottom hears that whistle at that instance. I don't see it in most of these platforms. It's a good try. It's a good one. But I'm sure after these elections, they know where the gaps are. They quickly fill it in the next 4 years. And of course, Mr. President will still be the one to supervise that election as president. And whoever takes it, sincerely, I know the person will have the day. And I believe for my party, we would also at that point be fielding somebody who will match that too young to run profile to go for presidency. So it will now be a race for all young men, because the bill would have been enforced, people would have been ready, and most political parties would want to field young men or women.
Okay. Talking about funding, talking about funds, you know, you mentioned earlier,
Yeah,
it takes a lot.
it does.
You know, so for these young people that have not been in government before, maybe just because they want to take advantage of the new law, how do you see a young man maybe just graduated from school? Okay, let's assume, okay, this young man have up to 4 or 5 years experience, you know.
Saved some money.
No matter what you save in 5 years, it is not, and it will not, I don't know. There is no way, for instance, like somebody who wants to go for presidency, for instance, and then maybe with 7 years experience, even if you have saved your salary 100% for 7 years, there is no way you can even finish campaigning in one state, and you are expected to tour the whole Nigeria
And Abuja.
and Abuja. So what do you think in terms of, you know, that the law is in place and the people are willing and the funding? So in this place, can you connect the knot?
That's why you come under a platform. You are not running as an individual. You're running on a platform, and that platform should have membership.
Okay.
We call political members of a particular political party.
Okay.
And these members are ordinarily the ones that should fund their parties by levies, by fees, by donations.
Okay.
Some could bring their vehicles. They brand them. It's already reduced the cost of electioneering or process of logistics. So it's not the man who is actually running that should go and look for all the funding.